Today, many technologies are advertised as agentic. But what makes the technology really agentic? And is it correct to call a simple chatbot already agentic? To answer these questions, I'm sitting down with Neil today and to also speak about his latest project. So Neil, can you please introduce yourself?
My name's Neil, and I am a senior data scientist at the Berlin Data Studio. And I've been here for 3 years, and in the last 2 years, I've worked on a lot of really cool Gen AI projects, like the one I'm going to speak a bit about later.
Okay, Neil, to start, what makes an AI agent and why is the system called agentic? How would you explain that?
So I think one would want to make a distinction between a normal chatbot and agentic AI. I would argue that a chatbot or any language model alone is an agent, right? And agents can be more or less complex. You can give some tools to an agent, for example, access to a database, or maybe a tool to allow it to write and run some code. But an agentic system has got a number of agents operating together, right? And what makes these systems so great is you're going to have agents overseeing the work of others and giving feedback to each other. And you can also have these agents having tools, right? So they can start to orchestrate workflows. And in this process of them communicating with each other, we start to see real intelligence emerging out of these systems.
That sounds super cool, but also super complex. Could you give me maybe a specific example of these agents working together?
Sure. I think a cool example of this might be something like a meal planning app or system. So imagine you want to, the weekend's coming up, it's autumn, and you want something to help you plan 3 dinners and 2 breakfasts, right? So you have a chatbot that you speak to and you say, hey, the weekend's coming up, I'm a vegetarian, it's autumn, and can you help me plan 3 breakfasts and 2 dinners? This agent would then take your information and pass it to another agent that would break it down into some search terms, right? So autumn, autumnal foods, vegetarian dinners, breakfasts, things like this. That agent might then pass it to another agent that can search in a database and get that information back. We could then, along with your original query and that information, pass it to another agent that could say, does this information from the query match what the user wants, right? If it doesn't, it could send a message back to the search agent and ask it to search again until it finds better information. Maybe it passes that information back to you and says, how do these meals look? You say, great. Great. This thing gets passed to another agent that maybe has an API connection to some sort of food ordering service. So it could then break down your meals into ingredients, send them through an API to the food ordering service, and get the ingredients back. Maybe it will want to check with another agent, have we managed to order everything for these meals that we want, or were there any ingredients we couldn't get? This checking agent could then say, okay, I see that maybe they don't have this kind of cheese. You could get a different kind of cheese. Send this information back to this agent. It can make the order and then send to you just a final order to approve, right? So we have all of this intelligence going on in the background with these agents speaking to each other. So you just basically have to tick off on 2 things. Yeah, I like these meals. Yeah, I'm happy with this order.
So like some workers which communicate, and there's not one agent that can do it all, but they are somehow intelligently splitting the work. So now that we've cleared up how it works, I would like to know a bit more about your latest project. It's called NEVO, and it's a digital sales assistant which also uses the agentic AI you just explained. Introduce me please to this project and which market need did you see?
Great. So the idea with NEVO was that we would make something that's intelligent and personalized and scalable. So NEVO is a voice-activated sales agent that takes a user through the sales journey and generates specific content for the user while they're going through the sales journey based on what they're speaking about and what they're interested in.
That's super interesting because I would say it's a time where personalization is like a demand of every customer outside, but also especially in online shops, for example. And Yeah, so I mean, I'm not too much into code, I'm not too technical, but maybe you can explain a little bit how it works, how NEVO works, which AI agentic assistants do we have in this system?
Great. So we've got one core agent that's listening to what the user's saying, and then is passing the user to different experts along the customer journey. So different experts have access to different bits of information. There are other agents in the background that are also listening to the conversation and then extracting the key information that they could then pass to a human salesperson later. And some of the really interesting stuff also is we have these agents that are selecting specific content, so specific photographs, and some agents that are writing specific content for the user based on some general information and then conditioned on what information the user has been sharing with them. And so this makes for this really personalized descriptions of the products in there based on what the user's interested in.
That sounds like I would not have to read 4 pages of unnecessary information about a product when I just want to know if the, I don't know, coffee machine fits in my kitchen, and I don't want to see every detail of the coffee machine when I'm not an expert at all. So yeah, I mean, I understand now the back end, I would say. But we also have the human, the customer, and the human communicates to this system, agentic system. And what did you consider? What was important for you when designing these, conversation, communication?
Yeah, I think it depends who you ask on the project. Different people thought different things were the most important. Something I thought was really important was that as you go through the customer journey, you're able to go forward, but also backwards. So when you buy something in a store, it isn't like you always just walk in and pick up the item and pay for it and walk out, right? Sometimes you're going to look at something, you're going to decide between different things. Maybe something goes in the basket, goes out of the basket. And we needed to create this intelligence in the system so that a user would be able to go forwards and backwards in the sales journey as they learn new information about the products that they're interested in.
That's super interesting. And when you were working in the project, which part of the whole development process did you enjoy the most?
There are these limitations or constraints that we have with using a service like Gemini or OpenAI. And one of the really cool things that we did inside of these constraints was set up some things that we had NEVO reacting in almost real time. And this was very technical, but it was so much fun to get right.
Speaking of challenges, was there even more? Was there another technical challenge or maybe also project challenge? Anything you encountered you had to deal with?
Yeah, with this project and every Gen AI project that I've worked on, one of the biggest challenges is assessing the system, right? Because a small change to the input can lead to a big change in the output. And especially when you have multiple agents working together, a really small change in the input can lead to something really completely different in the output. And so it's not too difficult to test the different agents or the individual agents, but to test all of them together, it can get quite complex. One of the solutions that we came up with was to create an AI customer that would speak to NEVO, a voice-first customer that would speak to NEVO in voice, and we would watch these interactions between them, either listen to the interaction or reading the text of the interaction afterwards to decide how to change the system. That was quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, it also sounds a bit like fun, and also it uses all the potential of AI, if you can even use it for testing the AI. To sum it up, thanks for the insights first. And to sum it up, agentic AI, which limitations of agentic AI in general do you still see, and maybe how could you address them?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is this brittleness of the system, that a small change in the input can lead to a big change in the output, right? I think humans are quite good at being adaptable to when things are a little bit different when they come in. Language models are not so good at that yet. However, as we create these systems that are able to give more feedback inside the system, or maybe just get humans involved in specific parts when the system's unsure, I think that this will eventually help to solve this brittleness problem.
Super interesting. So thanks for sharing all your practical insights with me. And yeah, we say bye and see you next time for our next Talk Data To Me interview.